My name is Robbie Denbo, and I serve as the adult pastor with the congregation, and also the pastor of spiritual direction. And sometimes I have a wife named Sarah. I think it's whatever it is. It's supposed to be. She's way cooler than I am, uh, in so many different ways. I have 3 kids. Abraham, it goes by Atlas. Now, not Alex and not Alice. It's Atlas. And then Lila. And it is my honor to be Sarah's husband and their dad. But that means that I am not a part of an agricultural society. So when I hear harvest, nothing is brought up. I don't have any memories about harvest time that I can connect with. I don't have that moment where I'm like, oh yeah, remember that time we got together, we all harvested, and then comes over, or we work all day, and then I don't have that. I hear harvest only at church. I have 2 shirts from this church that say harvest, and I'm like, this academy's up and cheap. So my hope is today, when you hear harvest, you know that it actually applies to you. You know that it actually does mean something. It's not just I kind of associate harvest with Halloween and Thanksgiving. It's something about pumpkins and stuff like that. And I think if you're in a farming community, that might mean something to you. But here we go. The harvest to me is the idea of a tomato. We know that it's debated, but I will be for the tomato as a fruit. And the reality is that I don't put a tomato in a fruit salad. And that's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. So, you know that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom says don't put it in a fruit salad. When Sarah and I, we married for 17 years, and on month 3, I think, we're both working 40-hour-a-week jobs, and in the city, we drive every day. Sarah is searching, for some reason, for dogs. I'm not sure how this happened. But after work, she's like, hey, let's go look at these dogs. And I know that if I see a puppy, I'll probably bring it home. I grew up with some dogs, so I have some reference for dogs, but the reality is I've never been the main purpose in charge of raising a dog. So we go, we see the dog, it's super cute, we're already emotionally attached. And we bring it home. We bring it home, we have no crate, we have no collar, we have no leash, we have no food, we have no water. And that night, the dog used the bathroom throughout the entire house. We didn't want it to sleep with us. We were like, okay, we don't want to be the people that have dogs in the bed, so we both slept on the floor. The dog slept in my wife's hair. It was a disaster. So then the next morning, we wake up, we both have to go to work, and we have this new puppy, and we're like, oh no. My dad's a big dog lover. He's actually said multiple times, hey, if something happens to your mom, I'm going to buy a house out in the middle of nowhere, and every dog has a place to stay. I'm like, so I'm thinking, okay, Dad's going to help out. My dad knows. He did not. He thought, what are you guys doing? Well, this is what we're doing. He did bring us a crate, and I kept the dog in my office for a week during work until my boss, who was my father, said, here, you can't do this anymore because everyone wants to bring their dog. It's a fair point. So, what are we going to do? Now, we're very aesthetic, passionate people, Sarah and I, and we could not imagine leaving a dog in the crate for 8 hours. And so, we bought those dog doors, you know what we're talking about, and I walk them in, and we left. We left food, water, puppy pads. You get home though. And we open the door, and the smell of gas hits you. The clicking of the oven is click. You turn the corner, those feather dusters has been completely destroyed. It's everywhere. It looks way worse than it actually is. Besides the gas thing, it was pretty bad. the puppy pads were not used, they were destroyed. And we looked at ourselves like, we don't know how to own a dog. I now know if someone gets a dog, I have a lot of experience. I had moved from knowledge of a dog to with a nudge. So my hope is when we see harvest, we can move today from an idea of a harvest to a experience, a supernatural way of understanding what harvest means. Looking back at the verse today, Matthew 9, verses 38. I'm just going to read it again because it's the Bible, and we read the Bible. Seeing the crowds, he felt compassion for them, because they were distressed and out wigs. When another translation says wigs, another shows confidence, and another shows weary. Like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. Therefore, plead with the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest. What's Jesus saying? What's he feeling? Like, go there of your imagination, and there he is with his friends. We call them disciples. These are the guys he's chosen to live life with. And he's looking at his buddies, and he's like, I know what my Father has sent me to do. And I'm looking at the crowd. I see everyone. This is a crowd. So look around. He's at the crowd. He's looking, and he's like, they're my sheep without a shepherd. And I know what they need. They need my Father's kingdom. They need his embrace. They need his love, his kindness, his compassion. They need the rules of the Father's house. They need to be loved, taken care of. They need a place to go with their anxiety, their worry, their stress. And he's looking, and the thing that he's moved by isn't anger. It's not judgment. It's not criticism. It's not annoyance. I feel like I'd probably be annoying. Yeah, these people. But Jesus looks at the crowd, and this thing that comes up in him is compassion. And so this harvest that he's talking about is birthed out of the compassion of God, not his frustration, and not his do better, be better. It's compassion. I've come for you. I've come so you may have life, a life to fullness. So you can have peace that I give, not the peace that the world gives. You know what that means? That means that the world actually has a peace. But guess what? He says the peace that I give. I had compromised multiple times in my life and taken the peace that the world offers. I always come up empty. It just doesn't hit that place as a peace that surpasses understanding. So harvest. I looked at multiple definitions of what harvest is. When it was really tasty. I thought it was going to be a little more profound, but it's when you boil that, it's just gathering food. So we're gathering food. So who is the harvest when God's talking? He's not talking about food. He's talking about Matthew 9, 12 or 13. Just a few verses up. He says, it's not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. Now go along what it means. Desire compassion. I look at that. We're just not come to call their churches and sinners. You are aware of your need of Jesus, then you are. Good news, he came for you. If you could see your longing for a Savior, you can be aware of your need for Jesus in the here and now. You are part of God. It's interesting though, he uses two terms that I don't really understand because I'm not a shepherd and I'm not a farmer. But really, everyone there understood these terms. Like, everyone in that day and age had a frame of reference to what it means to be a shepherd or have sheep or farming. So I love that he mixes the two. He says, sheep without a sheep. So if we're here, there's a chance, I'm speaking to the believer now, that you had accepted Jesus, you follow Jesus, you call him Lord, but they see your shepherd. Are you part of the flock and you kind of still do your own thing? Or when he asks you to lay down, do you listen? You think it's a good idea. He says, come eat, drink here. Do you let him take care of you? Because that's actually what this harvest is about. Like, he's actually needing workers. He needs people. He wants people. He doesn't need, he wants. He desires to work with us. When he's looking, he's like, pray for the workers. Pray for the Lord of the harvest to send more. He's like, yes, people need this. People need to get this. 2 years ago, I had a full-blown, I don't know if it's full-blown, is all I had. It's my experience, but I had like a panic attack. I freaked out. I couldn't sleep. My heart rate was like staying about 120. And the whole reason I was freaking out was because of fruit. Like literally, I'm like, I'm getting up early, I'm praying, I'm reading the Bible, I'm doing all this, I'm doing all these like things. And I'm like, am I fruitful? Am I fruitful? Like, am I bearing good fruit? I feel like we can relate to that. Like, that's kind of what we want. When we're here, we feel that thing in us, like, I'm gonna bear good fruit. I freaked out. Like, I called this a mentor friend of mine. He's listening to me talk. And like, I just start talking. You know, when you start processing something and you go and you don't actually know what you're paying attention to, you're listening, or you don't stop a whole. And I did it for like 15 minutes. Boom. And he goes, okay, well, I would like to pray first. Well, yeah, okay. Let's do that. That's a good idea. So after he prayed, he goes, no, Robbie can't shepherd. So you've been around sheep? I've been around sheep a little bit on accident. They're not very smart. Freaked out. They roll around on their own stuff. Never know what word to use in this thing. Go south real quick. And they can't go to other sheep to get clean. Like, if a sheep is dirty, he goes to other sheep and is like, hey, the sheep is just going to say, Bob. He says the sheep has to go to the shepherd. He has to go to the shepherd. And I was really good at eating stuff. I was kind of afraid to go to the shepherd. I was afraid to sit in that space and let him take care of it. Also, I didn't want to go and just say, hey, love me. I didn't know what would happen. Part of me might have thought maybe God was fragile, or he wouldn't respond, or maybe I wasn't really that guy. I don't know what happened, but something in my brain was resistance to just sitting and being loved. You guys go into that resistance. It's hard. So I'd rather do more stuff than actually just be his kid. So we talked briefly. We know what Jesus said. We know what his harvest is. We know who workers are in his sheep. And this is the one-off sheep. I think my hope is that you see that, like, in order to be worker of the harvest, you have to stay a sheep. You can't, like, move out of that role. You got to let him take care of it. Like the Psalm 23:1. I actually stayed on Psalm 23:1 for like 9 months. Lord's my shepherd. Who is that? I didn't. I liked the idea, got the sound of it. But when I actually took it, I was like, oh, I don't live like this is true. I live like I want this to be true, but I need this to become more than knowledge, but wisdom. I need this to drop from here into here. I need this to be my experience. So I just stayed there until the Lord told me I had to move. And you know what happened when I kept reading the same verse over and over and over? It began to take form of it. Sometimes we move so quickly, well, we hear truth, and it's like, oh, it was so good. What's the next? And it's like, whoa. You just heard something to change the course of your life when you're moving on. Let's stay right there and read that every day for a year is what happens. It's like when you beat like I think a blasphemy beating like a horseshoe or something. Like one hit's not going to do much, right? It's pounding over and over and over. So what's the verse he's inviting you to pound into your spirit and your soul, let take formation to read and actually become a part of you. Psalm 23:1 did that. It's a part of me. And now when I say how holy I need it, I really do believe. So the next question I ask when I see harvest is, what is the work of harvest? I think if I was on a farm, it would be gathering the crops of some lake. This is supposed to be gathering. What are we gathering? Matthew 22:37-40. We don't need to talk about. I'll just read it. You must love the Lord your God with all your soul and all. This is the first you raise. The second is equally love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and the measure of prophets are based on these two things. 1 Peter 4:8 says, above all, keep fervor in the love of one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. 1 John 4:8 says, God is love. I want to point out that it's not saying he has a characteristic of love. It's actually defining him as love. So it's like, I don't have the characteristic of being Robbie. I am Robbie. So God is love, which means he is the plumb line of what love is. If he is love, then we all say, oh, I don't think he's loving. Well, that's actually illegal because he is love. So now we get the plumb line to that truth, and everything else falls away. He is love, and this is the true north. You ever heard of a dead reckoning? You know that term? It's like navigating when you're trying to find the spot, or you can have a compass and it's like, oh, that's the north. That tree is set north. So I put the compass away. I'll go dead reckoning. I'll walk right through that tree. I know I'm true north. Jesus is that dead reckoning. He is the true north to say this is love. John 13:37. Yes. John 13:35. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples. You have love to one another. So, what is the work of the harvest? I would offer this. The kingdom of God is moving and operates through you. The work of the harvest is. Are you going to be prepared for harvest? If we want to be prepared for harvest, we have to commit to be really good at learning. This isn't like, oh, you guys, it's not. No, everyone here, we have to say, we are going to get really good at loving. The slow, long, hard work of love. It's not like the flash of the pan. It's not a moment of kindness. It is that I'm going to stick through. I'm just going to be impatient. Going to forgive others, not hold accountable. It's the long, slow work. Here's a really practical step. Sometimes when I'm thinking of myself, which let's not pretend that we're doing all things first. I get stuck on I don't know, I'm just thinking about me right now. I'm just going to offer you this question and let it serve you. We have this saying in our house, you use it or refuse it. So you can use it or refuse it. In any moment in your day, ask yourself this question. What does love look like right now? What does love look like right now? You'll be shocked at what it looks like. Sometimes it just means being quiet. Sometimes it ain't mean I will do away kind. Sometimes it's just going and talking to someone, asking them how they are. More often than not, it's a lot of questions, a lot of listening. But what does love look like right now? You could do that with actually any fruit in the Spirit. There's no law against the fruit in the Spirit, so you can take your pick. What does joy look like right now? Just faithfulness, sort of self-control. And the thing is we bear fruit, right? We bear fruit. But God's one bearing fruit through us. He's doing the work. The thing is apple trees and trying through your nose. It just produces apples. So you follow Jesus, you're going to bear fruit. You make your life His way, you're going to be fruitful. But the crazy thing is the indwelling presence of God, this habitational covenant that we have with the Holy Spirit means that the fullness of God lives in you. Not half, not part, but the fullness of God is dwelling in you, which means you have the fullness of joy in you. You have access to it. You have the fullness of love living inside of you. You have the fullness of joy living inside of you. You have access. It's right there. Now we will bear fruit, that's different. But the Holy Spirit living in you, faith, access it. That's the was a changing world. Okay, so what if you're like, hey, I don't know how to begin this love work. Like, you're telling me I need to love. Well, it's kind of the trick. It's kind of going back to the sheep. 1 John 4:19 says this. We love because he first loved us. I can own a dog because I know what it means to own a dog now. He loves because he first loved us. We love because we were first loved. You can't know how to love until you've been loved. You will try it and you will stumble, and that's okay. Stumbling is fine. But you won't have any idea how to love well unless you've allowed yourself to be loved. To sit in that place and feel accepted. Feel enjoyed, delighted. So, I don't know where you are in your journey. Everyone's going down a different place. Or it's actually beautiful. But being loved is actually the first step regardless of it. It's the way to start your morning, your evening, and afternoon. And I'm going to give some practicals. So, that sounds great. But yeah, it's just head knowledge to me. How do I make this heart knowledge? How do I get all this thing that you're saying down in here?
And I don't have the perfect answer, but I have a couple exercises that I practice that I'm going to show you.
I typically like questions, but it's really for the format, so I'm going to pretend like I'm hearing your question and you respond. Oh, it's a good one. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So the first one that we practice is if you go to the well, my wife and I, we teach the well. It's called Behold and Surrender. So I'll give you a little context. Beholding in John, 1 John, and it says and then we will see Jesus. And when we see him, we will know him fully. Then when we know him, we will become like him. So, when we see him, we will become like him. I think it's 1 John 3. What a beautiful picture. So I've just made a habit of holding that. So I will, throughout the day, if you guys never read Brother Morris's Practicing Brother Scott, he's like a priest, a monk, and he says I want to make God my entire life. But I kept beating myself up because every time I tried to focus on him, I would get distracted. And he's and the enemy would just come and pound me and tell me how terrible I am, which I think we can relate to. We tried that, and we get distracted and fall asleep and we feel bad and shame. But his spin on it was every time I look away and I come back, is just another opportunity to choose him. Oh man, that's an oasis for sleep. I'm not going to do it again. Okay, so behold and surrender. What I'll do is I'll sit here, I'll close my eyes, and I'll picture Jesus. Feel free to do this right now. You can practice right now. It takes nothing, no materials. You don't need your Bible, you don't need your journal, you don't need anything. You just need your eyes and you be closed. And you close them and you picture Jesus the best you can. And then I like to picture a body of water. Mostly it's the ocean. Sometimes it's a shower or it's the rain. And I'll just picture a wave washing over me. And I just picture it's this love. And it's just covering me. And then I start thinking of the attributes of this love. And I just let it hit me. And then I'll just pay attention to all the things that come up when it's hitting me. Oh, that liking, love, bitter. And then it's the surrender moment. We behold and we surrender. And this surrendering to love is affection. You do it for 2 seconds or 2 hours.
At this church, Jesus 他幫人把人手出去 live 的話，
Okay. Just don't have to tons of walk to run through. Cheers. It's a deep places. The next practical bit is I mentioned it before, but I find a verse that jumps out at me. And I will read it, read it, and sometimes I load it on a brewery. Sometimes I do it on my car. But then I pause it, what I'll read it, and remember. It doesn't need to be like paragraph, just like the phrase. The word is inspired.
It could just be like, he loves me. You should write that down.
Look out. The hope different would be in your life, in your walk, you just said, oh, what now? We say no, I end up in the here and now. Like sometimes we'll let God to move and we picture a new people.
Way in the future, but he's like, the here and now. Right now. So we'll say this like, I have you and I want you. I have God and I want God. I have it. You have God. You have God. And we want God. I just let myself sit in it. Sometimes we move around, so I'm like, you know, when you feel that longing, sometimes that longing can pull uncomfortable, so we move quickly from. Feels like, oh, I can't access it, but it's like, no, actually, this longing is just my way of saying bye on it. So I just allow myself to sit there, and I let all that stuff come out. Oh, I want to stand close to God. I want to be new to Him. I'll just like start talking, and then I'll just remember, oh yeah,
I want to see you face to face. I want to feel your breath on me.
This promise is that I will never leave you. Sometimes we think like, oh, he'll never leave me as long as I'm doing good. Well, like he didn't say that. It's like what we really made up. It's like, no, really in your worst moment, he's right there. Like he didn't promise that things wouldn't be hard. He said they're gonna kind of be bad. Like, but there's gonna be a time when I come back and I'm gonna like all the cheers, no more pain, or suffering. Which makes me kind of think that on this side we're gonna have some fun stuff. But here's the catch: what I'm gonna do to him. It's right there. And sometimes that was hard for me. Like, you're right here, not doing anything. Like, why aren't you doing anything? You're right here. And it's like, I'm with you. I'm with you. You don't have to do it alone. Actually, changes.
That means all my circumstances are being Jesus? Oh, so you mean you're here right now, so what if this moment is actually for my healing and wholeness? What if this is actually a divine moment?
When you say in John that you're working all things for, you're saying, I'm always at work. Jesus looks at the Pharisee. He's like, you're coming down for healing of the size. And he looks at them and is like,
My father was always burnt. So
That means right now in your life, he's working. At the place that you're like frustrated and there's tension, you don't know what's going on. He's working. You might not have any idea how. You might be like, this is terrible. Let's hold on to that. What if he is? What if he is? What if it looks bad right now, but it's actually sure is? So, we have the behold and surrender exercise. We have the read truth, the Psalm 23 moment. Find a verse, let it pour over you, wash over you. Yeah. But also, this was like a really simple thing, and it feels like we would all know this. Let's try. Remind yourself. Like it's often it's like something that we've talked before about like leave on ourselves the gospel. That's awesome. Let's do that. What if you reminded yourself that he's reason like that light
You are actually a manifestation of the creative music style to find it. And he thought of you. You were a father. In God's brain, his mind, he had to have it. Now, your existence is proof of his delight. Your very being here is all the affirmation you need to know that he is 100% good with you. And if you have no chance to get you better or do better or be more, he still loves you 100%, right? Which, man, sometimes you say that and people are like, I don't know about that. That feels a little too good to be true. I'm like, yeah, man. But it is. Like, I didn't make it up. If this was my book and stuff like that, it would have been terrible. I would have been so hard on people, myself included. It's just his idea. These are his books.
So it is. So you have a few minutes left. And
It's a worship team who said, Mom, I know I'll be a superhero. It says here, mystery.
but I want to spend some time in ministry time. Actually wrestling some of these issues out,
Because you know what? It's really clear. What God's needs wants us. He like keeps saying me. I found it. See, he wants us. I figured it out first. And the harvest, the thing I had to remember, the harvest isn't about food. It's about people. It's about people needing to know that their God is crazy love. That he created them for a purpose and a reason. He sees them, he delights in them, and he has a way. He has a way, and it's so good. We talked about the transcendent quality of love, that God is this love, and that he doesn't have to it's not a characteristic, but there's three others. So there's love, there's good, and there's beautiful. Three transcendent qualities of God. God is love, God is good, God is beautiful. So he gets to be the plumb line of those areas of our life. So before we're going to have ministry come up here in a second, but before that, I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 13. And I want your soul, your spirit, your body to experience. I want you to just notice, do you believe it to be true? I'm going to replace the word love, because God is love, so this is not me using scripture here. This is just saying God is love. So every time it says love, I'm just going to exchange it for God. And then you ask yourself, do I think this is true? And if you don't, write it down. And then go talk to God about it. So, God is patient. You believe that? You think he's patient with you? God is kind. We worked out. See, he's kind. He gave that to Jesus. God does not worry. God is not there. God does not. What is that?
God doesn't take into account how long.
He just let the cleansed it, washed it. We're free shall.
Rejoices in this.
Anything lights up in you, hear about it. It's true. If ministry time team would come, we want you to feel the freedom to you have access to ministry team for a reason. And when you come up to ministry time, it doesn't mean that you've done something wrong or bad, or you have this massive things to deal with. It just means you want someone to pray with you. I actually think that's awesome. So feel the freedom to come up, be prayed. If you have a hard time knowing that we're loved, I'm up here. Let's just pray. So we're gonna do a song, and then I'm gonna pray for us real quick. That minister.
and I release peace. Every present person. Right now, just pour you the peace and surpasses understanding. I ask for a down or a waterfall of your love to open up and fill this place with change routine next year. And I pray that we will put down the walls that are resistant to your affection for us and allow ourselves to be roughed. Thank you, James.